We need to talk about the two big reveals at the end of Crown of Midnight. Insert a clip now of the trauma that I felt, because it was... We need to talk about the ending of this book. That big reveal, insane. I have no words. Let's get into it, guys. First of all, we need to do a recap. Where did we leave Celaena at the end of Throne of Glass? Well, she signed a contract to be the King's Champion, which means that Chaol's life is now tied directly to the contract. Yes, I'm pronouncing his name correctly this time. And I don't think that bodes well for Chaol in Crown of Midnight. She's also ended things with Dorian, which I was heartbroken about, and her friendship with Nehemia is still blossoming, thank the gods. Before we get to the big reveal, we need to go through the journey that Celaena goes on in this book, because there is so much to unpack. I mean, we've got emotional baggage from the last two books, but she's also loaded the cart with some fresh baggage. Based on the recap, the first quarter of the book, we pick up immediately with Celaena on one of her first missions for the king as his champion, and something is immediately off. It's immediately off to me anyway when I was reading it, because I just knew that Celaena had had her moral awakening in Throne of Glass going through the tournament. So to me, Celaena isn't going to just go on a killing spree for money and do as her master says, because she now knows that that's wrong, and she's better than that. We've got a lot of struggles between her friendship with Dorian after she has called it off. He is very much still pining for her, and Celaena is really trying to kind of keep her distance. My heart goes out to Dorian, I'm not gonna lie, like, he just can't seem to catch a break. You see her relationship with Chaol blossom. I'm not a Chaol girly, but as I kind of saw their relationship developing, it was really nice to read about, and some of the things that Celaena felt towards Chaol and the things that he felt towards her was really, really sweet. I mean, that sweet, I'm gonna quote ya. It had snuck up on him, this pain and terror and rage at the thought of anyone else with her. I'm absolutely spiraling here. I'm going to have to pause. I'm not going to carry on with that. But what I will say is, he then goes on to say, I would be the greatest fool in the world to let you go alone. And also, there's a quote in there as well where she says she always thought it was Chaol. I mean, we've got to talk about that dance, really, haven't we? Because that was absolute cinema. When they're stood outside and she literally, Dorian, my sweet baby Dorian, literally the Chandler meme from Friends, where he's at the window, hands, crying. That's what I imagine Dorian to be like. We need to digest Dorian in more detail, because there's a lot that goes on for Dorian in this book. He discovers he has magic powers, which we know are forbidden, and that's very complicated for the son of the king, the guy who banned magic. He confides in Celaena, and Celaena tries to help him. That is kind of the crux for how the story comes to kind of like a climax. But before we get to that, we have to talk Nehemia, because she deserves so much airtime. The trauma I felt reading that chapter, I don't think I've felt trauma like it. Even Sam, I don't think came close to it. Well, she lets herself be her true self with Nehemia. So to lose all of the people she's lost in the past, and then her best friend, who she's not really had for very long, it's just trauma that she doesn't deserve. Insert a clip now of the trauma that I felt, because it was, you won't believe. And Nehemia's dead. No, there's her true friend. That was her friend. When Celaena calls Nehemia a soul friend, honestly, my heart shattered into a million pieces. And the fact that Nehemia thinks she has to do what she's done to kind of set up for a better future for both her kingdom, for Celaena's kingdom, and kind of the whole continent is absolutely heartbreaking. And the way that that friendship is left, I'm not okay. I am not okay. Nehemia's death is then kind of like the turning point for that book. So Celaena's gone full revenge mode at this point. It also has a turning point for her friendship with Dorian. So it's been quite awkward. It's been very clumsy in the lead up to this. But then actually she confides in Dorian because she has nobody else. And what she realises is she still does have somebody, and that somebody is Dorian. And one of my favourite things from this book was when Celaena says she didn't know where else to go. And Dorian, my sweet baby Dorian, says, "You'll always have a place here." Obviously, we have to talk about the downfall of Chaol and Celaena because of Nehemia's death. That's a whole thing. And because of that, she goes full revenge mode. I'm not going to lie, Chaol, you've never been my guy. You will never be my guy now because you have never done the most. You've betrayed her. You've always thought about the people around you rather than the bigger picture. We deserve to lose Celaena because of everything he's done, and specifically everything he hasn't done. Should have done more a long time ago. There were times in Throne of Glass where I had the same thought. There were so many times in Crown of Midnight where I had this thought, especially when he didn't do anything about knowing there was a threat to Nehemia's life. And that kind of takes us to the last quarter of the book. I was so close to the end and so much was happening. I didn't know where it was going to go because I was kind of like, how am I like 50 pages and I've still got all of this to figure out? I need to talk about the two big reveals at the end of Crown of Midnight. One, Celaena turns Fae. We'll talk about the other one in a second, but let's digest the fact that Celaena turns Fae. They go to another world to save her ex-man, to save the man she still loves. Yes, he's betrayed her. She goes into her Fae form, which she loathes. And she does that to save both the man she loves and the friend she loves, Dorian. Celaena gets her revenge on the person who truly deserves it for Nehemia's death, Archer Finn. We've not mentioned him throughout this video. I don't believe he deserves an honourable mention. I'm so glad she was so feral with that because he deserved everything he got. Let's discuss the big reveal at the end. Chaol, God love him, ships her off to Wendelin because obviously he knows in her Fae form she is not safe in Rifthold, which kind of sets up for Heir of Fire. She gives him the date that is mentioned briefly in this book, and he goes and researches it and finds out that she's actually Aelin, heir of Theresen. I'm not gonna lie, I knew that was coming. I'd seen a spoiler, but the emotions that Chaol feels and how it's written on the page made me so emotional. It was really nice to read. However, I think because I knew the spoiler was coming, the story of this book is a whole journey to working out that Celaena is actually Aelin. So it kind of flopped for me, but that isn't really a fair review of this book because it was very good, insanely amazing. And I think if I hadn't known the reveal, actually to then get that reveal not knowing it would have been unbelievable. And that leads me on to my predictions for Heir of Fire. So let's discuss. I think she obviously loathes her Fae form, but she's kind of going to have to get on board with that. I think there's going to be a lot of character growth in Heir of Fire because we've seen the character growth in her human form. She's got a lot of trauma now to unpack from the last 3 books, and I think in Heir of Fire we're going to see her kind of come to terms with all of the trauma of Crown of Midnight and all of the trauma of Assassin's. I'm hoping we get new characters unlocked because Chaol's had his time. Dorian, I'll never get bored of you. But I think we need to see some new characters, because otherwise where is the story going to go? I think she's going to have to come back for Dorian, because Dorian needs saving. We will see where Air of Fire takes me. I'm very excited to get into it because I think it's very much a turning point for the series. I'm gonna carry on with my journey and see where Air of Fire takes me. Please like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode.